Do I have a car show obsession? Hello, I'm your host, Gary Neidert. Thanks for listening to my First Ride podcast. This podcast is about nostalgia, automotive nostalgia. Reliving the events, sights, smells, and emotions of special memories connected to our first rides. Said another way, it's about allowing our memories to travel back in time and experience our special car moments all over again. Like I said at the intro, do I have a car show obsession? Not really. I'd rather call it an intense interest in going to look at cool vehicles and taking photos of them. This is my story of how this intense interest came about. For many years, there was a car show in Rockwall, Texas, that I always wanted to attend. However, every year the event was held. It happened to be the same weekend my wife produced a music event that I helped with. Every year, I would see the ads and think, maybe next year it'll be held on a different weekend and I'll be able to go check it out. As it turns out, I was never able to attend. Even this year, I wasn't able to go to the show. In 2017, I found out about a car show that was going to take place in downtown Wylie, Texas. It was part of Bluegrass on Ballard, which was connected to that year's July 4th celebration. Not only did cars, trucks, and motorcycles line the street through the downtown area on Ballard Street, thus Bluegrass on Ballard, but there was music, craft vendors, and more. Now, wait a minute. Music. Of course there was music, since it was named Bluegrass on Ballard. They had a bunch of great musicians down there. When I found out about Bluegrass on Ballard, I thought, maybe I can make it out to this car show. Well, sure enough, I was able to attend. And I've been there every year since 2017. I'll make sure to have a link to this event in the show notes. And if you're free the weekend of the show for this year, make sure you attend. It's got that old-time downtown feel to it with all the music that's going on, the cars and all that good stuff. And there's some great shopping that you can take part in on the shops on Ballard Street. Plus there's a cafe downtown that's very cool, very cool. Well, after Bluegrass on Ballard, I started looking for car shows close to where I live. This led me to Mustang Sally Productions, which I talked about in an earlier episode. They produce some great shows in the North Dallas area, including some close to where I live. Check out their website at mustangsallyproductions.com, and I'll make sure the link is posted in the show notes for them. They produce a show about once a month in Murphy, Texas, and up until this year, I'm not sure about this year, but they've been producing a show at Bass Pro Shops once a season in Garland, Texas, which overlooks Lake Ray Hubbard. Now, since these are close to where I live, and because of being busy with family stuff, these are the only shows I usually attend. I almost forgot. There's a show on Main Street in Roy City, Texas, another small town here in Texas that I've been to the last 2 years, which also has a lot of rides on display. Every time I go to one of these shows, there are great looking vehicles displayed, and the events, they're easy to get to. This year I started thinking about entering my truck in a show. Not to try to win anything, but just to be a part of the experience and meet some people. Now, I don't have a hot rod, muscle car, or classic vehicle. What I do have, though, is a 2000 Toyota Tacoma pickup. I guess my truck could be described as a survivor. At least that's what I'm calling it because of low miles for a 20-year-old vehicle, and it still looks good. At the 1st of May, Mustang Sally Productions put on a show next to PSA in Murphy, Texas, and I decided to enter and just see what happened. I got there early and was told to park anywhere I wanted. Since it was going to be a hot day, I found a space next to some shade, and that's where I set up. The people around me were great to visit with, and one couple had 2 Camaros, his and hers. Another fella that was in his 30s had a Kia Soul. So I was glad to see that the younger generation is still interested in cars. Hopefully this guy will get his friends interested in these events. And he had been in a car show the weekend before and won first in his class, I think it was. And he also won in his class in the show that I was in. So yay for the younger generation. Keep them coming. The lot was filling up, and you could tell who regulars were by the way they chose their spots, or at least that was my interpretation of it, because several people made sure to park next to their friends. Throughout the afternoon, the public was encouraged to vote on all the cars and trucks displayed. After the judging ended and votes tallied, an award would be given for vehicles entered in a specific class. Not only did the public vote, but the people who entered their cars and trucks got to vote as well. For me, it was really quite a task to go through and look at each car or truck entered and pick the best one for each class. I mean, there are up to 30 different classes to register in, along with the 10 Best of Class awards to be given out. After all the votes were turned in and the staff tallied the results, they began to announce the winners. People gathered around the tent where Mustang Sally had set up and started handing out awards. Of course, I went up just to see what awards were handed out for the different classes. Much to my surprise, they called my name, and I tied first place in the category I entered. I received an award for my category, 2000 newer truck. Man, was I pleased and surprised. What a great experience. Whether you're a car guy, gal, or not, if you live in the North Dallas area, make sure you check out Mustang Sally Productions events. You'll get to enjoy looking at some fantastic rides and talking with great people that own them. They would love to talk with you about their cars, trucks, and their motorcycles. If you're not close to the DFW area and you'd like to find a show to attend, ask around to find car shows in your area and go to one and take your family. Look up on Google car shows in my area. It'll be a great time to see some cars well taken care of, some older cars along with newer muscle cars, maybe even some rat rods. This could be a great way to do research for a future project on your dream car. Maybe you have a car, truck, or motorcycle you could enter. Put it on display in a local car show and tell the story of your ride. Who knows? You might get an award you weren't expecting. What's coming up next on My First Ride? I'm constantly searching for people that would enjoy telling the stories of their first rides and how their lives were influenced by them. And I bet you probably know someone that would be a great guest for My First Ride podcast, right? Let me know a little bit about them and their story. What about telling your story on the podcast? Let me know a little bit about you and your first ride. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Of course, you can also go to the website at myfirstridepodcast.com. One final thought. You may not have your first ride, but you still have the memories. it's time to share them. Contact me if you have questions regarding today's podcast, or you'd like to be a guest on My First Ride podcast. Send an email to myfirstridepodcast@gmail.com. I'm Gary Neidert, and you've just experienced My First Ride podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Wait, don't go. Just like last weekend, last show, I forgot to mention anything about the photograph that I had on the easel of the 57 Chevy. Well, today I forgot to mention right there. That's the award that I got for the first place, where I tied first place for my class 2000 newer truck. Right there. That was, like I said, that was a surprise to get, and I really was pleased to get it. Make a point to go look up Mustang Sally Productions and find one of their car shows in your area and go to it and tell them that you saw the information on my podcast and let them know. So anyway, go check it out. Thanks.